So I came across this graph of the national homicide clearance rates and thought I'd take a deeper dive into this information. In the mid-60s, more than 90% of murders were solved, generally resulting in an arrest. By the 1990s, it fell into the 60% range, and by 2020, as homicide numbers increased drastically, clearance rates dropped to almost 50% across the country. An analysis of the clearance rates shows that the white murders are solved at a much higher rate than those of people of color. And I say that, as always, with air quotes. Now, mainstream media would find this racist and would say that racist police put more priority on white victims and not on black or Hispanic victims. I would argue that the white people are more likely to assist the police in solving the murders in their neighborhoods, whereas black neighborhoods have a do not snitch policy that makes solving homicides much more difficult. According to the FBI, the NYPD's clearance rate fell from 86% in 2019 to 27% in 2020, although the NYPD refutes those numbers. According to the Murder Accountability Project, 65% of all murders were solved from 1965 to 2020. According to this graph, there were 8,739 homicides in all of 1965. We passed that number days after Mother's Day this year. So one could argue the declining clearance rates are due to the mass volume of homicides in many U.S. cities. This graph shows the clearance rates of Wisconsin since 1965, being around 80%, and Milwaukee's rate from 1965 to 2020 at around 77%. But you can see that pre-2000, the majority of murders were solved, and as you get closer to 2020, it's about half. This year, Milwaukee has had 150 homicides, 39 more than they had last year at this time, and last year set a new record for them. They currently have filed charges in only 42% of this year's homicides. In 2021, the city of Milwaukee saw 197 homicides, and charges were filed in 32% of them. So murder rates are rising as police officers are retiring at a much faster rate than in previous history. District attorneys aren't prosecuting all the crimes as many cities work to reduce the prison population, which creates the perfect storm and paves the way for criminals to commit multiple crimes before being punished, or committing multiple crimes and never going to jail. It all creates a vicious cycle of crimes without punishment. And no end to this is in sight in the near future for America. Support this channel and pick yourself up some original crime-related apparel. Look for the link in the description.